Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror slasher film, See No Evil, Part 1. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with clips of a poor boy being abused physically by someone yet to be revealed. The scene shifts to Officer Williams and his partner arriving at an abandoned house after a noise complaint made by the neighbors. Even meters away, the loud Hillsong blasts to them. The officers invade the home after hearing a woman's screams. Upon entering, they immediately notice the blood splatter on the walls. They follow the music lead to a room where they find a young woman hiding her face in her palms as she sobs. As Officer Williams curses upon seeing the young woman's face, a large figure with an axe attacks his partner, murdering him. The butcher then chops one of his hormone let-go hands off and is about to end his life, but the officer shoots him in the head using his another hormone let-go hand. Before losing his strength, Officer Williams calls for backup. As he does so, the scene reveals that the young woman from a while ago had her eyes ripped out. Moments later, the police and media come to the crime scene. Detectives find 7 more bodies in the house, all of which have had their eyes ripped out as well. Officer Williams is in critical condition because of the blood loss, while the young woman is also taken to the hospital for psychiatric evaluation and trauma care. 4 years later, Officer Williams and his partner take a group of delinquents, consisting of 4 young women and 4 young men. They soon arrive at the abandoned Blackwell Hotel, where they are welcomed by the owner, an old woman enough to be retired. The owner informs the group that the property was actually donated to them years ago. Instead of renovating it as a hotel, they decided to turn it into a shelter for the homeless with their help. Officer Williams steps in and instructs everyone to follow the owner's order for the next 3 days. These 3 days are equivalent to a month off their sentences. As the owner tours them, she also tells them that the hotel was named after its original owner, Mr. Blackwell, who built it as a playground for himself and his friends. There are rumors about hidden passageways and two-way mirrors everywhere, but a fire killed Mr. Blackwell, his wife, and others. The owner gives a few more ground rules before commanding them to start cleaning. The boy named Bully is in charge of cleaning a dirty lavatory. Bully breaks and takes one of the pipes to knock on the ceiling with falling sand grails. Meanwhile, Kay's best friend named Bestie crashes hope of leaving the place by explaining that the window she has found in one of the rooms will still lead inside the hotel. On the other hand, the genius called Richie Rich shows a blueprint of the hotel to Tyson and tells him that everything the owner said about the hidden passageways is true. So the two plan to break Blackwell's safe that was never recovered. Later, Bestie reveals that Bully and Kay had a bad history. Bully used to beat Kay up when she wasn't working for him. Kay was able to escape Bully, but now they're together again. Officer Williams apologizes before leaving to fix the problem by separating them, as they weren't informed about Bully and Kay's relationship. Later that day, Bully's attitude strikes again as he carelessly throws a can at a stray dog, pissing the timid girl off. As the night gets darker, Bully and Sweet Talker leave their room to meet Timid and the typical blonde girl named Blondie. As soon as they do so, Richie Rich and Tyson prepare to find the treasure. On the other hand, while Kay is taking a shower, someone's peeping at her while focusing on the big cross tattooed on her back. She notices the hole in the wall and the shadow of someone passing by. She wraps her sexy body in a towel to confront Bully, who appears in front of her. Kay firmly asks him to leave, but Bully refuses and holds her by the neck. Fortunately, Bestie comes in and tells Bully to let go of her friend. Bully reluctantly frees Kay and leaves them alone, but still manages to trigger the trauma in Kay. Meanwhile, Richie Rich and Tyson accidentally find an old man's corpse in one of the hallways. Richie Rich immediately knows that the man was not killed by the fire, as his corpse is still fresh and yet to rot. After further search, they discover that his eyes have been ripped out, prompting Richie Rich to leave Tyson in panic and fear. Richie Rich soon realizes he got lost, so he calms down and begins analyzing the blueprints. Unbeknownst to him, the elevator behind him opens, showing a man with a large figure, holding a big bloody hook attached to chains. The mysterious man whips the hook, piercing it into Richie Rich's leg, before dragging him into the elevator. As Richie Rich attempts to free himself, Tyson witnesses everything happening before him. The elevator ding sounds catch the owner's attention, so she reports it to Officer Williams and his partner. The partner gets into the lift to check it, only to be attacked by the butcher. The butcher takes her by the neck and smashes her petite body onto the elevator ceiling, causing immediate unconsciousness. The butcher rips off her eyes with his bare hands and then puts them into a jar, possibly to make delicious pickles. On the other hand, 4 of the group wander around the hotel while Bestie tells Kay a way out. She gives the instructions to Kay, who goes inside the kitchen, where there's a window without bars leading out to the atrium. She uses one of the rusted kitchen tools to open the window when she accidentally loses her balance because of a fly. The sound of Kay's body slamming onto the floor catches the owner and the officer's attention. Kay immediately gets up and instructs Bestie to distract Officer Williams while she gets out. As the door closes, Kay sees more flies coming out of the dumbwaiter. Kay instantly thinks it's Bully, but she panics upon seeing the prominent figure before her. She turns around to leave when she accidentally slips, and the butcher takes this opportunity and swings his chain hook. Kay screams in pain as the hook pierces her shoulder, while the man drags her across the floor. The butcher forces her into the dumbwaiter. At this exact moment, Officer Williams witnesses the dumbwaiter closing. He immediately instructs them to ensure everyone is in their rooms, but Bestie informs them that the others are in the off-limits penthouses. They quickly run to the elevator, and while waiting, Officer Williams instructs the owner to contact 911. As soon as the elevator opens, Bestie forces her way in to find Kay. While waiting, Officer Williams notices the blood on Bestie's arm. Confused, they look up, only to be frightened even more upon seeing the ceiling covered with blood and hair. As they reach the 8th floor, they find a petrified Tyson pick locking one of the doors. Tyson informs them about what happened to Richie Rich. Officer Williams asks him to describe the butcher, whom he described as a mysterious big man with a hole at the back of his head. Everything comes rushing back to Officer Williams, as he knew he shot the notorious butcher 4 years ago, who used to pluck people's eyes out. Bestie is confused why the butcher has taken Kay, so Officer Williams explains that the last survivor was also a woman with religious markings on her body. It turns out Kay has one big cross on her back. Realizing the danger, Officer Williams gives them his spare gun and instructs them to leave the hotel while he goes after Kay. However, Bestie doesn't want to leave Kay alone and argues with Officer Williams in the hallway. Suddenly, the butcher calls Officer Williams, who couldn't dodge the hook due to his shock. The butcher lifts him with his chain, and although he attempts to fight back with his gun, Officer Williams drops dead on the floor with his eyes plucked out. Bestie takes his gun and taser before leaving with Tyson. On the other hand, the other group settles into one of the hotel rooms. While Blondie is flirting with Bully, the butcher watches them through the two-way mirror. Not even an hour there, Sweet Talker successfully convinces Timid to make their way to the 7th floor for a rough hormone section inside the maid's quarters. Kay wakes up terrified upon finding herself in a cage with dead bodies beside her. She also finds a tied-up and unconscious Richie Rich in front of her. Kay tries to wake him up and call for help, but her attempts are in vain. The butcher soon comes in, prompting her to ignore the disgusting blood and bodies around her. The terrified voice of Kay wakes Richie Rich up, catching the butcher's attention. Although he repeatedly begs, the butcher rips Richie Rich's eye out, not caring about his screams of pain and the blood splattering. Meanwhile, embarrassment slaps Bully in the face when he attempts to make a blonde hormone move on Blondie, who laughs sarcastically at him after being asked to make out. On the other hand, the butcher drags Kay out of the cage before ripping off her clothes as he hears a voice in his head. The butcher takes Kay to the shower and forces her face up to the shower head. As this happens, a glimpse of the poor boy from the first scene flashes, showing him experiencing the same thing. He's being forced by a woman to open his eyes and wash the sins out. At this time, while Timid and Sweet Talker do their sweet workout, there's a string underneath the bed connected to a bell. The butcher returns Kay to the cage as the bell dings, before storming out of the room. Suddenly, Timid stops working out with Sweet Talker and tells him that there's something weird about the mirror in the room. Sweet Talker looks at it and realizes it's a two-way mirror. The butcher's shadow flashes as he looks closely, scaring the hormones out of them and making them storm their way out. They lock themselves in a storage room and cover their mouths as the butcher passes by. Sweet Talker then finds a water hose and wraps it around Timid, who slowly climbs down the window. Sweet Talker slowly lets go of the hose for Timid's safety when she suddenly gets pulled up fast. Timid screams aloud upon seeing the butcher pulling her back into the room. Timid attempts to free herself from the hose, but it loosens up and gets wrapped around her legs, causing her head to hit the wall. The butcher smirks upon seeing this, before releasing the hose suddenly, causing Timid to break through the glass roof and hit her arm on the ground. Timid screams in pain because of her broken arm, while the butcher returns to Sweet Talker and rips his eyes out for pickles, but spares his sweet mouth. On the other hand, a dog comes out and starts licking Timid's diabetic blood. Not long after, more dogs come out and start attacking her. While waiting for the elevator, Bully sees the butcher beside them. He quickly pushes Blondie aside and attacks the butcher with the tube. After that, he grabs Blondie before running and locking themselves in one of the rooms. The butcher searches for them and destroys the locked room, unaware that they're hiding in blind spots. The butcher angrily storms out of the room after failing to find them when Blondie's phone suddenly rings. He returns inside and smirks upon seeing a petrified Blondie begging him not to kill her. Blondie calls for Bully's help, but the butcher doesn't care. Memories of the poor boy from the first scene flash again. This time, the woman's voice echoes in his head. She instructs him to look into their eyes, because they are the soul's window. Back to the present, the butcher takes Blondie's phone and forces it into her mouth. Blondie drops onto the floor with the phone in her throat. The butcher takes her out of the room to punish her more. Bully watches in fear and silence, as this happens right before his eyes. Simultaneously, Bestie and Tyson cock their guns as they hear footsteps coming. Trapped, Bestie shoots the incoming person thrice until they hear Bully's voice, giving them a sigh of relief. They find the tripwire, which they pull, causing one of the bells to move again. They prepare themselves to attack as they hear the butcher from upstairs. They await at the elevator when the butcher unexpectedly appears from the side, catching them off guard. The butcher pushes Bestie onto the floor before smashing Bully's head to the wall and throwing him off the mirror. Tyson quickly brings Bestie into the elevator, which the butcher breaks with his axe. As the butcher tries to break in, Tyson pushes the ceiling and gets out of the elevator before pulling up Bestie. The butcher attempts to follow them, but Tyson tases him. They then climb the stairs to look for Kay. Although muffled, they hear Kay's call for help, which they follow, leading to a locked room. Tyson immediately crooks it, revealing the butcher's hideout. The walls are covered with money and a table full of pickle containers with water and human eyes. They also find Kay locked in a cage in the next room, along with other dead bodies. Kay tells Bestie to use the keys on the table, but then they hear the butcher coming, so they quickly return to the hideout room. The butcher stares at Kay while slowly caressing his private but smelly parts. Seeming to not be enough for him, he unlocks the cage when he suddenly hears glass smashing. It's Tyson breaking the jar of pickled eyes to catch his attention. Tyson immediately hides in the safe as the butcher comes in. Bestie sneaks behind him to help Kay, who hopelessly tells her that the butcher has taken the keys. Furious, the butcher searches for Tyson. Tyson tries to tase him again, but the butcher quickly holds his hand and tastes Tyson, causing Kay and Bestie to hear his screams. The butcher repeatedly pushes the safe to the wall, crashing Tyson's internal. Bestie quickly hides as the door opens, revealing the owner unsurprised by what she sees. Kay sighs in relief, but the butcher comes in seconds later, and what she hears next frightens her. The owner then asks the butcher why Kay is still alive, and the butcher suddenly seems like a child, getting scolded by his mom. Kay asks if she knows him, and the owner reveals that he is her son, Jacob. She then confesses she never needed their help, and it was actually Officer Williams that she wanted. Upon seeing a newspaper talking about Officer Williams, she knew she needed to get back at him for hurting her precious son. The owner believes that her son is the hand of God, and he has told him what to do. The owner influences her son to think that the tattoos are blasphemy and they are doing God's work. But for the first time in his life, Jacob disobeys his mother's order, prompting her to take matters into her own hands. She holds the gun to kill Kay, but Jacob immediately stops his mother. The flashbacks reveal that it's the owner doing all along. She traumatized and hypnotized her son to believe that troubled women like Kay are the devil's work. Upon realizing this, Jacob throws his mother to the wall, piercing her body and head with the large screws. After that, Jacob drags Kay out of the cage and the room. Bestie takes the dropped gun before searching for them until she hears a worship song. Although creeped out, Bestie follows the music, leading to a room where she finds Jacob caressing Kay's hair on his lap. Jacob seems to have completely lost his mind and doesn't notice Bestie. Kay tries to break free, but Jacob tightens his grip around her, so Bestie slowly walks toward him and pulls the trigger. However, there's no bullet anymore, and the sound triggers Jacob to return to a maniac, making him grip them by their necks. He pushes Kay to the ground and prepares to rip off Bestie's eyes. Fortunately, Bully appears and attacks him. The ladies immediately run upstairs and drag Bully into one of the rooms. However, Jacob hears the sound of dishes crashing. He barges into the room and looks down the broken window. He comes out and attacks Bully with the tube. Kay breaks the bathroom sink on his head, while Bestie pushes him over to the window with a wooden chair. However, Jacob is still alive, with his left hand pierced with the bars. Bestie then takes the tube from Bully and stabs Jacob in the head, causing him to finally fall. Jacob's heart is impaled with a shard of glass, appearing to kill him. The film ends with Bestie, Bully, and Kay walking out of the literal living hell of Mr. Blackwell's hotel. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.